Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. As you probably already know that private equity firms and many companies have a lot of free cash right now. So, and with the Fed interest rates being so low, which are expected to go high, they want to invest. And we are seeing a lot of mergers and acquisition activities going on. Mergers and acquisition, if I look at end-to-end, it usually takes from 6 months to 2 years or maybe more. And with the new privacy laws coming up with GDPR, CCPA, and others kicking in as well, security and data privacy are one of the key components of most of the M&A transactions, or should be. So today I will be talking about just the cybersecurity due diligence part of it in my presentation. To get us started, I will just, since I only have 20 minutes, you can go to my LinkedIn profile to take a look at my past experience, but currently I'm a CISO of Portland Community College. I have worked at Nike right before my current position, where I did focus on mergers and acquisitions just a slight bit, and I got involved later in the game, but I cannot discuss any details about those transactions just because of the signed NDAs. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter or send me an email if you have any additional questions after this presentation. Then agenda-wise, we will be looking at introduction to M&A, the definitions and what are the key objectives, the types and the end-to-end business process involved in merger and acquisition, as well as what is the importance of cybersecurity in M&A transactions, and what are the common cybersecurity due diligence challenges which we face, and the risks associated with cybersecurity in M&A, and what are the step-by-step process to perform due diligence. So most of you probably already know what the definitions are, but just for the starters, the mergers, when we talk about the definition, it's a consolidation or combination of two or more entities to form a single legal entity. And then acquisition is where, for strategic reasons, if a company wants to acquire another company, and divestiture is where a company wants to sell or get rid of some of their assets, resources, departments for strategic reasons. Then objectives of M&A, and I just wanted to say that since I only have 20 minutes, I am only going to be touching the surface of it. The objectives are where some of the objectives are, financial security, or if you want to eliminate the competition in a particular space you are in, or you want to have a positive synergy effect in relation to revenue generating ability. And if you want to have a strong market power or a stronger market share, if you want to have a better brand, as well as if you want to diversify your products in new geographies or in new market sectors. Then looking at the end-to-end business process, the first step is strategy development, where the core M&A team comes together and meets with the executives and are looking at what, growth-wise, what are the leaders thinking about. And based on that, they decide whether they want to go for a horizontal merger, that is, they want to acquire a competitor, or they want to go for a vertical merger, where it's not a direct competitor, but they want to get into a new area of expertise, or they want to go for market expansion, that is, that they are trying to move into new market or new geo, or they want to go for a new product segment. That is that if you want to, if you want to provide a new product to your own customer base, So all that gets decided in strategy development. After that, the M&A team looks at certain targets, whether they work with the bank investors or they are directly working with startup companies or mid-sized companies. They finalize that list, and after that, they do a valuation analysis, looking at the operations, their customers, what are the key top customers which we want to acquire, or their financial products, and so on. After that, they get into the negotiations phase, where the initial offer is made. In that offer, the initial terms and a process is discussed, and there is some level of negotiation which happens. After that, there is a letter of intent which is issued. As soon as the letter of intent is issued, most of the times at that time, cybersecurity leaders get involved in the mergers and acquisition transactions with respect to due diligence. And due diligence is the step which is very time consuming, where you look at most of the things which you can look at, because sometimes the target company might not share everything with you, but you try to do your best. Once you have identified certain risks or certain gaps, after that you get to the deal closer, where the company decides whether they want to go ahead with the transaction or not, or whether they want to include certain terms and conditions where, so for example, if there is a cybersecurity risk, whether you want them to close it, whether you want them to remediate it, or you want to negotiate on the price. After that, you get into the integration phase, where you are merging the two entities, and then you want to make sure that you are compliant for regulatory requirements post-merger. So an example would be if, let's say, you don't have any medical equipment in your, as part of your portfolio, and if you acquire a company which has medical devices, now you need to be HIPAA compliant. So you need to take a look at all that as well. And then it's business as usual. But in business as usual as well, you need to continue to monitor for any attacks or any malicious activity. Then the strategy from information security point of view, our goal is to make sure that we enable the business. We want to make sure that they are successful, their strategy, their M&A strategy, that they are able to meet it. So we try to identify the information security risks as part of this deal. And our job is also to provide guidance on how to reduce these risks, and also identify what are the one-time costs to remediate a particular risk, or you need ongoing costs, whether it is to reduce risks or whether it is to maintain a particular service. Then common due diligence challenges are, the first one is where we as security leaders, we are included into these kind of transactions at a very later stage, where we don't even have that much time to perform the full cybersecurity due diligence. And we don't, most of the companies, they don't have set processes. They don't have playbooks, defined playbooks, so that they could look at those and just follow the process and just optimize those playbooks as they go through new transactions. Then, as we are already dealing with skills shortage in our industry already, there is a specific skill shortage with regards to folks who do not understand business and M&A transactions and technology, like business and technology as part of M&A transactions. So there was a survey which was done where we came to know that 64% of companies, they believe that they are not given enough time to perform the due diligence during these transactions, and there are 63% companies who said that they have lack of skills. So you can imagine, that we are not doing a good job. Most of the organizations are not doing a good job in this space. So some of the risks, there is a huge list around cybersecurity risks, but the top risks are insider threat, where there is a disgruntled employee who came to know about this deal going on. Let's say there was a media disclosure. At that time, they decided they were not sure whether their job will stay. They just took the IP information and just walked out the door. Or they did some stupid thing with regards to causing a data breach. Then the existing hygiene of the target company, they might be coming up with their own set of vulnerabilities and so on. So you need to consider that as well. Because if you acquire certain targets with poor cyber hygiene, or they already have an active data breach going on, it can lead to a mistrust with your customers, and you might end up losing your customer base. Then, as I mentioned earlier, that you have to think about what new regulations you need to follow as well. And most of the times, the companies, they forget to see what new regulatory requirements they need to meet. So one of the case studies which I will take is quickly, it's M&A between Marriott and Starwood Hotels, where Marriott bought Starbucks in a $13 billion deal in 2015, where they did not do a thorough due diligence, and they did not realize that Starwood already had hackers in their systems. And so there were, some of the lessons which were learned from this, I will like to share with you. So for 3 years, Starwood hackers, they remained undetected, right? So the lesson which we learn from this for merger and M&A transactions is that we need to perform thorough due diligence of the security controls, and we also need to perform compromise assessments to see if there is an active breach. Then next one was where the security team either left or were laid off shortly after the acquisition. So we want to make sure that we retain the necessary talent that that will help us with this new acquire. Then hackers had stolen data on as many as 500 million guests. We need to continuously monitor for potential attacks and malicious activity, not just during the transaction, but also once the merger has happened. So we want to be vigilant of looking at those all those events happening. Then multiple lawsuits were filed against Marriott, but their cybersecurity insurance did cover most of the breach costs. Cybersecurity insurance is critically important during M&As, but we cannot fully rely on it. I know I only have 5 more minutes, so I'll just quickly pass through the next few slides. So then what are the due diligence steps we need to make sure that we take during these transactions? The first one is that we want to make sure that we connect with our information security insurance folks, and we tell them about this M&A deal happening, and we prepare them for that. And we want to make sure that in our policy, we are covered for any M&A related security risks. We also need to not just assess our own insurance policy, we also need to take a look at Target's insurance policy as well. Then second is third-party assessor, where most of the times when you are asking for data from target companies, they would not want to share that with their potential buyer. So you can hire a third-party assessor who can help you in various different areas, because if you're dealing with inadequate in-house security expertise, as well as if you have very short time to do this transaction, they can help you do that assessment quickly. Then third is where you do discovery and you manage the workflows. You start asking, when you do third-party assessments, you have this questionnaire which you send to the vendor. You have similar questions, but questionnaire, but more in detail. So you can send that to them. You need to track all the workflows. You need to make sure that they share everything with you so that you can do your assessment. Then you also focus on, as a fourth step, you focus on compromise assessment. You take a look at their detection, monitoring, detection, and response capability, and assess the effectiveness of that. And you can also deploy your own monitoring and detection tools in there as well, if they allow you. Most of the times, they do not allow you. You want to make sure that you are confident with regards to the assessment which you have come up with, because it can make or break the deal. Then the fifth step is where you do the risk assessment. You perform the risk assessments and frame identified risks. And if the risk is beyond your organizational risk appetite level, you want to make sure that that risk can be brought down to be within your appetite or tolerance levels. If not, then you can even recommend to propose to just not go with the deal. But at the end of the day, it is up to the business to decide whether they want to accept that as a risk, or they don't want to go ahead with that transaction. Then last one is where you communicate. You present the cyber risk assessments to the M&A team, focus on all the risks that have exceeded the risk tolerance, and you share the results of compromise diagnostics and so on, and present mitigation plans as well to your leadership. And as I said, our job is to help them know the risks and not say no for any transaction. Then in the end, I will just, I do want to give you a few minutes for questions. So we want to make sure that we have a cybersecurity playbook in place. And with each M&A transaction that we go through, we are optimizing it. Because every M&A deal will look differently, from a risk perspective, as well as people, processes, and technology perspective. With that said, I would open the floor for some questions. And if I can take them over here, please feel free to meet me outside as well. Please go ahead.
So might the target of the acquisition company be less than helpful in allowing you to come in and do audit because they are concerned that the valuation of their company in the transaction might be significantly reduced if it's seen that they have poor infrastructure and security recessions that are that? Or could you also conversely find a situation where they actually have a great setup and it may actually be stronger, and they may actually find weaknesses in your own system as the acquiring company?
It can be both. It can go both ways, but most of the times it's the first one. But one of the reasons why they don't want to share that information is that they are working with multiple buyers at the same time sometimes. So they want to make sure that they keep their information tight, if that helps. Any other question? Okay, thank you.